Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast.
Welcome to Scene Snobs Podcast, everybody. Welcome to September. That's right. We are in September. We are in the second week with our second show of the month, and we're coming closer and closer to Snobtober. If you don't know, you don't know. You got to get with it. Snobtober is the best. Snobtober is where we really celebrate Halloween, but we also celebrate our anniversaries. We got a lot coming up. We have our 4-year anniversary happening on the 6th. We're going to have special 2 episodes that week of the Scene Snobs Podcast, and it's all going to culminate October 31st. That's right. It's a Tuesday, Snobs Day. So we are going to have a Halloween live special as we do every year, but on Halloween this year with guests. It's going to be a fun party. We're going to get kooky crazy and it's going to be a good time. But the best part is it is our 300th episode of the podcast and we're super excited to do it. We cannot wait. I'm so happy to get into this. We have a very special costume party planned with the theme. So you're not going to want to miss it. Lots of friends are going to be there. It's going to be a great time. So guys, I hope you'll join in, join in all the time. We're having a great time all the time. So, and check out the channel because we have a lot of great videos coming out as well. Now, this episode is brought to you by BarkBox Super Chewer. Get your furry friends some really cool stuff. They have great deals going on. Go check out the links down below. That's our sponsor for today's episode. And I love them. And I will tell you this, if you want to get really cool Halloween themed stuff, definitely go with BarkBox and get it there quick so you can get it for October. My girl Reba sitting upstairs, she still plays with her Dracula ball, and we got it last year. Only toys that ever last in our house is BarkBox Super Chewer. So go check them out. Get your discount. You can check out everything below in the link. Thank you guys. But I have a very special guest today, and I'm super excited to have him on the show. It's his birthday tomorrow. That's right. He's a 13 baby just like me. So it's his birthday tomorrow. And he's a friend of the show. He works for the show. He's just always been a great guy and a snob all alike. So without further ado, let's bring him in. My guest co-host for tonight's episode, Mr. Paul Dunn. Done and done.
Good to see you again, Mick.
Hey, buddy, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, I am so excited. I'm so glad you're here. When you signed up, you're like, it's my birthday week. I signed up for it. I'm like, good.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I saw that date. I was like, let me do that right before my birthday. Birthday present to me. Click.
So if you don't mind, there's something I would like to share for your birthday, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. One is I found a QR code that you had put up. It's your QR code, and it's not something like you know how people put it out there and you can support and things like that. And he's a content creator. He's a great guy. So if you want to support Paul for his birthday, give him a little gift, use that QR code, help him out. He's a great guy, very cool. And, I'm happy to do it for your birthday, my friend, and take care of you if I can, because you deserve it, because you're great. But I picked a very special cup to drink out of tonight.
Uh-oh.
Just for you.
Let's see it. I'm excited.
And I am so excited to just take a drink out of this.
That's awesome. Yep.
The thing, baby. Yeah, let me put it up to the camera so you can see it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I realized I was holding a full drink right over my laptop, so I'm just going to put that down now. Paul, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much. So before we get started, let's talk about you a little bit.
Okay.
Tell us about yourself, where you come from, what you love, which, we're going to find about, the movies, because we did a 5 questions and you guys will see that in a few weeks, but let's deep dive a little bit more.
Absolutely. So I'm a Carolina boy through and through. I grew up down here in the nice South. Thank you, Brian. I'm pretty well versed because I've traveled the USA, 43 states a year, because I ran off with the circus. I do love horror movies. That's probably my go-to. Everyone knows.
No.
They haven't seen the 5 questions yet. It's fine. I can still.
No. First off, nobody ever gets to finish a sentence that's, yeah, so I travel 43 states a year with the circus, and then immediately go on and talking about horror movies. I need these people to know. I know because we've talked, but I want to know more. What is it like working in the circus? Like, we see so many movies with the life and stuff like that. In fact, it's funny you mention that, because last week on my mixed movie picks was 1952. and I chose Kansas City Confidential, but I almost chose The Greatest Show on Earth, which is the Best Picture.
Yes, sir.
And I would love to know your take. If you can tell us a little bit about your experience working on circus, and maybe like dispel some rumors or say, hey, this movie was kind of like what it was like.
I would say that movie is pretty spot on. It's super family. I did not expect it. I literally ran off with them the next day. I got hired. I was in Greensboro. The next day, I was like, I'm moving. Like, I'm going to New York. That's it. There are 380 people that lived on the train that we lived on, and I knew 0 people. So, like, I literally was leaving all my friends and family for question marks. But I definitely needed a change of scenery at the time. And just open arms, man. Like, everyone has their doors open, everyone's cooking, come on in. It was very eye-opening for me just seeing how just comfortable people were with themselves. No one really just seemed uppity about anything. You could have actors like Mr. Lacey, for instance, or Lacey, sorry, was a tiger act, and he comes from like 5 generations of doing tigers and bear acts, and he's just a really nice guy. Probably was the highest paid guy there, but he just sit down with you and just have lunch with you and just kind of shoot the shit. So like, I never felt like anyone thought they were above anybody else there. And as far as a lot of the things with PETA and things like that, I will say, I tried to tell everyone, I'm like, if I had saw any animals get abused, you would have seen me on the news freeing those animals and getting arrested. So I never saw that. The tigers and stuff, they got fed better meals than I did. I saw plenty of employees get abused, just not animals. But it was awesome. Like, it's hard to describe what it's like. Just every week, anywhere from a day to a week, you're just traveling by train where everyone's just it's a circus party, because we got a pie car. It's like a diner that's built in there, and everyone just congregates there. You play board games, Munchkin, Cards Against Humanity, all these things with all these different people. And it was certainly interesting. There's 23 different dialects spoken on that train.
That's amazing, man.
So
all walks away.
Yeah. No, a majority of the people there were not born here, from here, or living here. They were only here just because they were here for the circus.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome. And when they closed down, it was a very tough time. Some people took it a little harder than others, but there were certainly a lot of fun stories. There's one gentleman, rest in peace, Sonny, but he had run off with circus when he was about 12. And that's when Ringling was just starting. And he had become so loved by the Ringling family that, or Barnum and Bailey, that when they sold off to Feld Entertainment, in the contract, they said, you cannot fire him. Because he was about in his 80s when Feld Entertainment bought it about, 6 years ago before they closed.
Wow, that's amazing.
And he had stories, he's like, you have bathrooms now. He's like, there used to just be a hole in the floor right there, and that was your bathroom. And I was like, dear God, Sonny. And he was, the people that took care of the elephants did a great job, but Sonny just had this chemistry because he had been with 4 generations of those elephants. So he had been with the mother's mother's mother, and you just saw the connection in his eyes light up. And when it closed down, I know it was really hard for him.
And that's devastating, because I know that a lot of closings happen because of the animal abuse that was occurring. That was being reported that was occurring, and I'm not saying it didn't exist. I'm sure you can't have stories like that and it's not real somewhere. But I'm glad you could shine a light on having worked with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, and it's good to, for me, I know it's good to hear that,
right?
That, from your personal experience, and I'm so astounded by your story. When you first told me, because like when we met, we got into talking about movies, we got into talking about life and stuff like that, and then I just had no idea you were in a circus. And when you first told me, I was like, yeah, no, tell me everything. Like, it's just an interesting thing, but you never know what you can ask or what you can't. Right. So if you don't mind, I do have some questions, and if you don't want to answer, please feel. If you do, but so I love that family aspect of it. I don't know what the hardships are. I got to imagine the traveling's got to be as friendly and fun as you've said. It's got to be hard too, right?
Yeah, it is hard. It definitely it helped me weed out people that I thought were super, like my ride and dies, like people that I would have thought were in my foxhole that just disappeared, and I understand life happens. In my opinion, distance should never make a true friendship dissipate. If I'm a mile from you or 1,000 miles from you, we should still be where we are. So it definitely was weird leaving with 30 people I thought I could always rely on and coming home and then being like, oh, I got 4 that actually
Yeah.
care. But it was a good life lesson. But I still kept up with everyone, and I'm a mama's boy, so I still called my mom like every other day. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
sure she'd say that she missed me all the time, and I did miss her, but I still talk to her like every other day anyway. So
Well, would you? So if the circus hadn't closed down, you're still with it. Do you think you'd still be traveling?
oh, absolutely, yeah. I had the best boss I could have had at the time. His name was Lonnie. He was our train master. He was just a huge goofball. He comes from an oil rigging family, and he was just a big dude, swole. And like when I first saw him, I was like, oh man, this dude's about to work me like a dog. And then he happened to see I had a Muppet shirt on, and he's like, you like Muppets? And I was like, yep. And he's like, I love Muppets too, and he showed me a tattoo, and then like he's obsessed with
Nice.
puppets, and he was just a goofball, and he was just an awesome person to be around. He didn't make work bad. Because the previous person in charge before him, for train crew wise, we're not like show sides. We don't have the 3 shows every day. Once we unload the train, we're just taking care of the actual train. So we sweep, we mop, we're doing mechanic stuff,
Mhm.
room types maintenance. And the previous boss was like, no, you guys are getting your 40 hours Monday through Friday, even though Saturday or Sunday when we move out, you're still going to get 20 to 40 hours straight. Um, Lonnie was not that way. He was like, hey, you knock out your stuff in an hour or 2 hours, go enjoy the city. If you want to take a day off and go check out Boston or New York, just let me know.
Yeah, don't
So,
miss the train. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So it was really awesome finally being able to explore those cities.
And I love that. So, and it's funny because when we were first talking and we were talking about like the idea of coming on a show and talking about your appearance on Mr. Beach, which we'll get to. I'm just I love this stuff because I loved the circus as a kid. I loved, I only went a few times, but I always had a great time, and the memories are like burned in,
Yeah.
So for you, like, was that your main job, or did you move around to other areas, or was it just communal? Like if you may have been sent here one day, here one day.
So as far as the train crew goes, you kind of just stuck to what you did unless somebody needed help. Like you had certified mechanics, certified electricians, you had your train master, assistant train master. My technical title was head porter. So I was in charge of the room and board, safety of the train, and divvying out some of the maintenance work and handling the water for the train, because you got to fill up all the underbellies of each train car with water so that when you're traveling, people can have water while we're moving.
Okay.
So that's mainly like my task mainly was the tradition was I'd always start like 10 of the train cars as I walk down for our morning meeting, meet up, we do our morning meeting. Lonnie and I would go mess off and go find the nearest Dunkin's, get Dunkin's, talk trash for an hour, come back, turn those off. I'd start 10 more. All right, let's go get lunch. And that was kind of my days, except
That's
I was
awesome, man.
picking up things.
Now, while you're traveling so much, is there a place like you call home, or did you like come back to visit your parents, or like was there like, because you always hear these like there's towns where the circus performer, not just performers, but the workers in general, and maybe like carnival, as well, have like small towns where they congregate and live. Is there something like that? Like, is that where you stayed, or how did it work for you?
So if the train wasn't moving, like we typically would have like maybe, we'll say 30 days off, or the town would have 30 days off around December-ish to January. During that time, they just park us in Palmetto, Florida, because that's where their headquarters was for Feld Entertainment. And a lot of people, would go up to Orlando, some would go to Miami. But Palmetto, I would probably say, was kind of the home for them. But my home was always North Carolina, so any chance I got, I'd always try to come back home.
That's awesome. That's very cool, and that's a really cool story. And you literally picked up and ran away to the circus.
Yes, I did.
I finally can say I know somebody who ran away to the circus. It's something we all said as kids. Like, I'm leaving. So you're big in, and this really isn't an interview. You're a guest co-host, but now I'm so like into it, and we're going to get into the Mr. Beast thing in a second, but I wanted to ask, you write, you're really into movies, you want to make movies, so performing, and like maybe not performing, but like it seems like you have a grasp on like performances and maybe guiding performances. But
right.
What is performing to you? Is that ever been a thing that you're interested in?
All the way through, I guess, what should have been my college age, I absolutely was big into acting. I loved improv classes, things of that nature. What was nice about the circus is our lead clown, Asa, would lead classes because he had gone to clown school. He was one of the last ones to go through clown college.
Mm-hmm.
So he gave free acting classes, and so I did a lot of that. As much as I'd love to still do acting, I still feel like I'd be better more as, if I can work myself up to it, more as a director or a writer than I could as an actor. Because I feel like I'd be better at pulling things out of people and setting them up how they should be, as opposed to getting myself together.
That's awesome, dude. I love that, and the fact that you shared it with me. So, like, when you're working at a circus, if I could ask this too, like, or is it a carnival? Like, who's the one that really does all the calls and stuff?
Such as what? I'm sorry.
Like, isn't there somebody who like kind of like leads the charge? Like, is like kind of manning.
Oh.
Like, was that Lonnie? Like, what do they call those?
Oh, so we actually had a general manager, and he was actually in charge of all of that. So he'd handle all of the show side and be overview for our train movement. So Lonnie was more in charge of communicating with railroad. So he was in charge of us where we were parking, when we were moving, which windows we had to hit, everything train wise. But he would communicate with our GM, who was more in charge of, these are just towns we're going to be in, these are shows, who's here, who's sick, who's flying in, which talent is coming in, all those type things was on him.
Yeah, but I thought they called them something. I thought they called them like Carnival.
Oh, you're talking about the ringmaster?
The yellers or something. Don't they call them yellers?
I'm not familiar with that term.
Barkers, right? Barkers? Oh, well, I guess
I'm not.
I guess I'm wrong, but not about this. BarkBox, everybody. They're a sponsor today. Go check them out. I tried. It didn't work. Claim your free offer. Double first box for free. Check them out. Link below. Wanted to throw that in there.
Heck yeah.
It was a terrible segue, but I was always bad at them, so it's okay. So
hey, there you go.
So when we're talking about performing and everything you just said, like so you recently appeared on a Mr. Beast video.
Yes, sir.
And we talked about it on Mick at Night, your experiences. We watched some of it and things like that. But I wanted to talk about you getting into it. Like, what attracted you? Like, was it because I know like you do stuff with us, like you come on here and stuff. So is performing like now in this instance, like doing something like this or Mr. Beast, or well, Mr. Beast is not something like this, he's much bigger, but was that something that like calls to you, like you look for those things, or how's it work?
Yeah, I think I do, because I do enjoy talking. So like podcasting, I'm all about. Like formal acting, no, but actually talking, being real, 100%. Mr. Beast, I just figured, it was more of a why not. Like I see half the people on there, he doesn't choose one demographic. He is very fair on choosing all types of people, regardless of anything. So I just stayed on his website pretty hardcore, just because he posts up different applications constantly. And he just happened to post the right one that said, "Are you in North Carolina? Are you born from outside this country?" And I was like, check and check. So I sent in that application. I think like 6 hours later, I got a phone call, and I was like, nah.
Yeah. Dude, it's that's good, but it takes you away from the challenges I'm trying to put on you. So you really need to not make him shine. No, I'm kidding. No, it was very cool to watch you on that, and knowing that you love this, you love doing this, and hopefully you'll sign up again so you can be a guest co-host more often. You can do it more than once, people. So what I love, hearing about these and talking about your experience in the circus, but how did that help you with this, like with the writing, with all the stuff that you're doing that's very like an art form, like and not like it is an art form, but all this stuff like making movies or being on podcasts or stuff. Did the circus help you with that, like come out of your skin at all, or how did that work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like I said, I knew no one there, and
Mhm.
probably within 2 weeks, I probably knew over half that train. I probably knew 200 people. Um,
Awesome.
so
Okay.
I was just forced to kind of break out of my skin. Um, and like I said, everyone was welcoming, so it was very easy to be around everybody. But it did force me to get out there more. And then once I was in charge of safety for a train, took the title of the head porter. Safety meetings definitely got me more comfortable talking because I had talked to 380 people, and I had
Wow.
to learn how to pause because, of course, we had like 6 translators. So
Yeah.
then I had to learn to do one sentence, stop, wait about 5 minutes, next sentence, stop. Um,
Yeah.
so those uncomfortable pauses of 5 minutes where I'm just sitting there, just looking around at everybody, waiting for the last translator to get done was very interesting. um,
That's a lot. Yeah. That
yeah.
definitely has to take its toll, but it's very cool that you did it.
Mhm.
And one thing I want to switching gears and such, and because I don't want to delve too deep into Mr. Beast because we really did, we went hard,
Right.
and it was, I think it was taken down, but I'm gonna redo it. It is also on our Facebook page, so you can go check it out there. And I think I'm gonna make it part of clips. So I think that we'll be able to, because you put in that was really enlightening, a lot of stuff you shared, with that creation of that. But I know you're not just a horror guy. I'm not going to put you in the box, but you are a horror guy, and our favorite season's coming up.
It absolutely is.
And I want to get into I don't want to just feel like I'm interviewing you. I want to get into the talks. I want to have the fun conversations about the stuff we love. So I picked tonight because it's such a divisive topic.
Mhm.
But, when I think about it and as I kind of go on, and this topic for me, it's like the fact that I see it ripping so many people apart and they're really going at it, it kind of drives me crazy. But how do you feel about Roe v. No, I'm just kidding. How do you feel about Halloween and people saying it starts September 1st?
Oh, absolutely not. So for me personally, if we start Christmas immediately after Halloween, after July 4th, my ass is putting up decorations around our place.
No way, really?
Oh yes. Yeah. Because there's no other real holidays. I'm not waiting for Labor Day. Like, nah, July 4th, after that, July 5th, Halloween season has begun.
One of the most hardworking men I know, and he doesn't want to celebrate Labor Day.
Because I'm always working.
Fair, fair. So for you,
Mhm.
going out there and doing this, and now what is it for with Halloween, putting up your decorations? Do you go shopping now?
No, so we because of our living situation in townhome that we're in, it's rather small and crammed. Um, so we don't buy too many decorations. I just bought a new door wreath that it says welcome, but then it's sliced out and says not welcome, like don't come in, with all the killers on it because I saw it online and I was like, I need that.
That's awesome.
So we have that. Sam has some sugar skulls in the windows that stay in there year round, but we just count them as horror during this season, which is awesome. Um, and we'll probably put up some stickers. We typically put up some window stickers, but because of the heat and how it hits the
Yeah.
sunlight hits a window, they always fall off.
Yeah, that's very true.
Right.
So, like Brian, what's Labor Day? Nobody knows.
Yeah, because Brian and I were both working. Brian is one of my coworkers from Wet and Wild.
Hey, what's going on, Brian? Yeah, you
He
guys have
actually
some
works. He's not like
adventures there.
security.
You have some adventures there. That's always a fun one. But so for you, going into Halloween, you July 4th, you're ready to go. What are some traditions that you hold for Halloween getting into?
So as you know, I'm typically watching horror movies on a weekly basis anyway.
Hmm.
I typically for all of October really try every 24 hours to actually watch a horror movie, and not just one I've seen, and not necessarily one I want to see. I try to look for kind of oddballs on Shudder that I might have kind of pushed to the side, things of that nature, because there's been some real gems I found just by taking a chance on a movie, and also on same token other side, there's some that I should have just left alone. But
Yeah.
I try to expand it because if I just stay in what I know and I like, I'm never going to grow or maybe find something that I want to pull from there and use for myself and any of the endeavors I'm trying to do.
Dude, I love it. And so when you're out there and with the 24, you're watching it you're not watching 24 hours straight.
No, just one every 24 hours.
I did that. I did it We did years ago on Twitter. It was a watch along. Dan, if he's still here, he knows. We did it together. I forget what we called it. I have a T-shirt from him from years ago. Like, but I was one of the sponsors, and I picked one of the movies, and I would host that, time frame. But there was 24 hours of movies. I picked Fright Night, by the way. I love that.
There you go.
I think it's a good, creepy type movie, but it's not too harsh. I feel like it really works within the realm of like, you can watch this in Halloween and feel really like have fun with it,
Right.
So I picked that one, but like it was 24 hours straight, and I stayed up all 24 hours. And, it was called like Halloween or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was 24 hours straight. I'm never doing that again. And I say, don't do it. That's too much. Or don't do it when you're old, like me. Do it when you're young, like Paul.
Until tomorrow.
Judy and George say that you never knew you could be so articulate.
Oh, I appreciate that, Mom and Dad.
Love it. Mom,
they never see me sober. That's why.
Well, I hope they've seen you sober.
It's been a minute.
Well, at least you're sober now.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, give it a few minutes. It's only 7:27. You're out of here in 15 minutes. You'll be fine.
Pour me the drink. Like,
Ready now. I want it in that thing cup.
Yep.
So that, for me, when we're talking about like Halloween, going back to that and the watches and stuff like that. And I know you like to watch something new. You said, is there any staples that you must watch every Halloween?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a real tough
Or are
one.
there any?
Yeah, so like I just have a soft spot for like Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. I'm not gonna lie.
I just watched that recently with my kids.
There you go. That's just a great one. A lot of the Disney ones, Sam really sold me on, honestly, and got me to really enjoy again. So like she's huge on Hocus Pocus. And I always enjoyed it, but I never really loved it. But after rewatching it with her, that's kind of our tradition now of, okay, we're watching Hocus Pocus to get the season off right. And now with the second one, we get to watch 1 and 2, which is kind of a good staple to have now. I'm trying to think of one I typically will save watching any of the Halloween movies until this time of the year, just because they're named Halloween and it's Halloween. So
I've gotten to that. I used to watch Halloween all year round. I love that movie. Not all of them. Sometimes I would do a marathon. For years, though, I could watch Halloween all year round. But I feel like I've gotten to a point in my age where a lot of those movies are strictly around Halloween now. Like and tell me what you think about this way of thinking, because like as a horror fan, I got a little worried. I'm like, I see all these horror fans always watching these things throughout the year, and I'm like, I just save most of that stuff that I love around Halloween time. And then the rest of the year I span out into newer stuff if I can.
Okay.
With the exceptions of like The Thing during a snowstorm or stuff like that.
Right. Must be nice to get snow.
Not anymore. Let's just put it that way. We used to years ago.
Right. I think that's a great way to go. That's not how I I gotta watch my horrors. That's like my fix.
Well, you do it right. You guys put up a big inflatable screen in the back, and you guys like kick it and chill. I love it.
Yeah, those movie nights are epic. I've been trying to branch out more because we had a bigger group before COVID started. So we had about 30 of us that used to meet up for outdoor movie nights. COVID happened, of course, it died down and started to get back up. And I wouldn't say a complaint at all. But I had a gentleman tell me, he's like, well, the reason, me and my wife don't come is just because it's always horror. And, we can, and I was like, no, like, we can do whatever, because like for him and me, we connect more on puppets. So we love the Muppet movies. And I was like, bro, I'll put on Muppet Treasure Island all night and day, any day. Like, you just tell me what you want. Like, you tell me what you want to watch and I'll put it on the screen. Like, any of the movies we watch, for the most part, I've already seen, because I'm not trying to make you guys be on a sinking ship of a bad movie. So I have no problem rewatching almost any movie.
I love horror, and it is a great genre. I can't do it every week, like only because like there's so much to me. Like I like watching that's just like last night. I don't know if I talked to you about it. I think I did when we talked on the phone earlier today. The Great Escape.
Right. Exactly.
I haven't seen that movie in maybe 10 years. I love that movie, but I haven't seen it in like maybe 10 years. And to be able to sit down and really watch it again and I had and it was on Pluto, so like it was uncut. You have commercials, but it was uncut at least.
Right.
And I just forget how amazing that movie is.
Absolutely.
And so like it's been nice to be able to kind of go around and like span out a little bit and do more than that recently, but I am getting in horror mode, that is for sure. It's gearing.
The Great Escape is one that probably in a 6-month rotation I watched that at least once.
Wow,
I think that was my mom was really big on the classics, the good ones, such as the Great Escape.
That's a great one. She's a smart woman. Judy,
yes,
you're a smart woman.
That's one of my favorites, and I think another one that they introduced me to that is kind of on a 6-month rotation is Finnegan's Rainbow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that one. That I haven't seen that since I'm a kid.
It's a great one. It still holds up. I love the music. I love the dancing. Like, I mean, I love some good, wholesome, just dancing. You know, La La Land did it right with all the dance sequences and things of that nature.
I know what you're doing.
I'm not doing it.
Don't do it. Yes, you are. You're going there.
Nope.
You want to rant, don't you?
Nope.
That's what you're looking for.
There's no whiskey rants by Paul tonight. I'm drinking C4.
Fine.
Nope.
Do it.
Nope.
Go ahead. Set it up.
No, we're good. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say my mom.
Put it out now because I don't want you doing it on Mick at Night, and I don't want you doing it on the Halloween special. Do it on your episode.
Okay. Then I will say that my mother did introduce me to Sound of Music, and that's one of her favorite movies. So in turn, it is actually one of my.
Judy, you had some points to deduct. You were at plus 1 billion, and now you're at negative 1 billion. you went down 2 billion. Yes, Paul, we had a long talk about this today, and I'm going to say it in front of everybody.
Oh, God.
And it is especially reinforced by the fact that I watched Great Escape again last night, and I can do a comparison of those two. By the way, anybody who's watching, this is available at snobsmerch.com, our Freddy Krueger Hurt People shirt. So that and more. I got to throw out. I got to throw out the stuff. I got to pay you. So it's Labor Day. Calm down. So I hate The Sound of Music. Yes. Now, I'm going to preface this because anybody who's listening right now, their ears and head are about to explode, or anybody's watching are just probably cursing at the screen right now. And here's my problem. I understand why people love it. I get it. It's big, it's bold, it's beautiful, the music, this, that, and the other thing. But Jesus Christ, if I had to sit down and do nothing for 3 hours except torture myself, would I put that movie on? Nothing happens in this boring ass movie for 3 hours. Well, no, I'm sorry, 2 hours and 48 minutes until the last 5 minutes happen, and then they escape the Nazis in the easiest way. So, and what pissed me off last night, what kind of resurged this hatred now, and I'm gonna, my wife loves this movie. She loves The Sound of Music. She can't. My grandmother, who's like one of the closest people in my life, she loved this movie. She loved it. She watched it all the time. I don't get it. I don't get what the cult mentality of this movie is, where everybody's just like, I mean, I get Julie Andrews, beautiful, wonderful voice, fantastic. I love Julie Andrews. I love Christopher Plummer. They're fantastic actors. Not even Christopher Plummer wanted to be there. Yeah, like so when I watch this movie and everybody here is like, no, it's great. And I know they're saying that right now, screaming at me. I'm telling you, it's really not. You're remembering the hills scene. You're remembering the surface crap. You're remembering the moments that happen in that movie that aren't even really anything. Because like I told you earlier, everything is easy for her all the way throughout. There's no real turmoil or drama. It's completely drives me insane because she's a dippy one who goes out and sings like a hippy dippy one, which I respect and I love it and I think that's great. But like she's not following rules. So now you tell me in the circus if they don't follow rules, you put up with Maria's shit. You wouldn't. Don't lie to me.
Redlined.
Right? And they kicked her out. That was like the biggest thing that happened in that movie. Not even the Nazis. Like the nuns were like the biggest antagonists of the movie. So, she gets kicked out, immediately gets a job as a nanny. The children hate her, and the husband's terrible to her. But the children immediately love her because she sings a song. And then the father immediately loves her because and the kids again. He just automatically loves his kids again. And I get the connection between their mother and the whole nine. I get it. I know. Nothing in this movie is lost on me. Nothing in this movie is lost on me. I'm leaving it out because it's arbitrary and it doesn't matter. So when you get down to, and I'm so sorry for Judy and George if they love this movie. Your son is fantastic and he's great. And I'm so glad he's on the show. And I respect you. But like I told my wife and I told my grandmother when they told, I do not respect this movie and I will always speak out on it because nothing. First of all, the true Von Trapp family went through a harrowing journey through the Swiss Alps to escape the Nazis. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a walk in the park. They didn't walk in a line singing songs through the mountains. It was horrifying. And that story is told. Now, I don't need a horrifying story. It can be nice. It can be full of songs. You can have a pleasant, perfect example, The Great Escape. It's a biography. It's real. It has music that's like very uplifting. It has characters that are very uplifting. But it also has harrowing. You watch that movie and you're like, is he going to get away? And I've seen it like 5, 6, 7 times. Is he going to get away? What's going to happen? What are you going to do? Like, where are you going to go? You know, they get captured. You're even sympathizing with one of the Nazis in that movie. That's how good of an acting job, direction, and everything in between, and the story overall. Then you get to fucking Sound of Music. Excuse my French. I'm getting annoyed. Excuse my French, but you get to the Sound of Music, and everything, every piece of turmoil she has is immediately in the next scene perfectly fine, and it's usually because of music or whatever. And then the only thing that didn't, the only one piece of drama is when the boy who was older than the girl and still hitting on her, get out of here, you creep, get away from my daughter. So he's like talking about the Nazis and having to fight and stuff. And then he goes. And that's the only thing that plays through. If you had made this movie about this family for the first, I don't know, you could have done an hour and a half. You could have done an hour and a half of putting the family together and done another hour and a half of their harrowing journey and like how it brought them all together even more so. But you didn't. You gave me almost 3 hours of mostly just crap, of stillness, of doing nothing. Even when the fiance or girlfriend or whatever she was, I can't remember at the moment exactly what she was, but I think she was a fiance, but she saw them falling in love and excused herself and said, no, that's true love. What? You couldn't even if that was true, you couldn't even just write a dramatic scene?
Right.
Were they didn't like it?
Like,
maybe, you know, like something like that. Like, I mean, I don't know. Or you changed other things up from the real story in this. Why not change that up and make her somebody who was a Nazi sympathizer and sent them after you because she was jealous?
There you go.
That's fair. It makes sense, but they don't do it. I can't keep going. I hate this movie so much. I hate this movie so much. I'm assuming it's Judy, but it might be Judy and George. And if it does, I'm pure respect. And if you love this movie, I understand. And I just hate it. If you wanted to be a nun, but wasn't able to continue, that was hard. She didn't want to be a nun. She never. If she really truly wanted to be a nun,
mom wanted to be a nun.
Oh! You wanted to be? Well, yeah, no. And that's a story I would.
I mean, I'm glad you're not, Mom, but
yes, I'm glad you're not. So you have a wonderful family, and I'm glad that didn't happen. So you can have a wonderful family. But here's my problem. I would love to hear that story. That sounds like something that would be very interesting. They didn't even really give you that. It always seemed like she didn't even really want to be there. And that's what there's no real drama. Everything sort of just works out for them. Everything is a near miss. And the fact that like 27 of them hid behind one tombstone utterly drives me crazy. At last, someone I agree with. Thank you, George. As Judy hits him on the couch. I don't blame either of you. And Jason, you're wrong. You're just wrong, buddy. No, but so for me, that is a boring ass movie. I don't like it. I'm glad you do, and I'm glad you have that connection with your mom. That's the only good
Right.
thing
Yeah.
from that movie that I have seen. I have seen so many wonderful connections, and I don't ruin those connections. I may hate it. I'm not trying to convince anybody to hate it. I may be passionate in my hate and talking about it. But if you have a wonderful experience with your mother watching that movie, hold on to that. That's amazing.
Yep.
You know, because I hate the movie, but I'm so glad I watched it with my grandmother. That was time. You know, and I didn't want to watch it with my wife because I didn't want to watch the movie, but I did, and it was still wonderful to sit down and watch it with her because I see how excited she gets when she watches it.
Yep.
And I think that's the key, and that's what I love about movies. Like, you can hate something, but never take the joy from somebody else, you know?
Right. No, absolutely.
So, except for you. I think I should take the joy from you personally, but the thing
But going back to Great Escape, that's one of my go-to favorite lines is when the shower scene. What are you doing? I'm supervising.
The Cooler King has to be one of the coolest. Hilt has to be one of the coolest characters in movie history.
Absolutely.
I feel like next time you come on the show, that should be the topic. You have to remind me because I often lose track. But you really let's talk about the coolest characters. So we got to get our lists together for that.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
We do. This is gonna be fun. Yeah,
that's gonna be a good one. So you make sure you're in for it. But we're kind of ending on time. I wanted to say, well, actually, let's see. What's worse, Sound of Music or Poultrygeist? Okay, I actually have an answer.
Sound of Music. Poultrygeist is hilarious.
Poultrygeist is hilarious. So Poultrygeist, one of the premieres they had was at my college when I was there at Full Sail.
Really?
Yeah, and that's how I met Lloyd Kaufman. And we became friendly. Like, we weren't like best friends. Like, you know, we didn't talk like you and I do, but every time I saw him, he remembered me. I knew him, and like we would just shoot the shit. Huh. And for years we'd do that. Like, I would go to conventions, see him, or like at different events and stuff. And really just a wonderful, wonderful guy who would always spare some words for me. Like, he never had to. He's like Kaufman. He never had to walk away, and he could just walk away and just done his thing. But he always was very sweet. And I remember when I started podcasting, I got out of the film industry, I started podcasting, and I ran into him at a convention. I think it was Monster Mania Con. This is a long time ago. And I said to him, I was like, hey, man. And he was like, what are you doing with yourself these days? I was like, well, I actually left the film industry and I started podcasting. I work for a review site called Mario Likes Movies, stuff like that. We do videos, things like that on YouTube. He's like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, get your camera. And like, he did. Not only did he do interviews that day, not only did he do promotions for us, like in depth, like he wanted to make sure we had everything we needed to walk away with and have it for the channel.
That's awesome.
He was having Trauma Dance that year down in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and I was living in New Jersey at the time. And he was like, you guys come down, you be my guest, come hang out. Not only did we get to go to that, cover the event, get exclusive interview with him, get promotions with him, but also talk to James Gunn, talk to Ty West, interview them. It was a great experience. And every sweet thing you hear celebrities say about Lloyd Kaufman is 1,000% true.
It's great to hear.
So to answer Mystical Limits question, Matt, I personally will always have an affection towards anything that Lloyd does. As cheesy and bad as some things are, and there are some things I'll never watch again, mostly from the 70s, but that man can do no wrong in my eyes. He's down to earth. He's very sweet and one of the best people in the world. So I needed to say that. So with it, you know, we are kind of coming down on time. I want to kind of finish up with you and talk about some things that you have going on. I know you're writing. I know you're working a lot on that, and you know, getting into it. What's your next step? Where do you go from here? Like, are you going to try and film something? And would it be genre oriented, or what would it be?
Yeah. So I'm currently trying to work on my first short film. I haven't quite narrowed it down. You know, I've taken other people's advice, such as one of our friends, Dave, and Michael from Slash 15. You know, I've been trying to keep an open mind because I've never done a short film. You know, and the first thing they're like, well, you got to figure out like where you want it to be. Is it like 15? You going for 20? You going for 30 minutes? Like where you're at? And I just recently got it narrowed down because I'm aiming more for like 30 minutes. I'm trying to go.
You didn't ask me, by the way.
Not yet. It's best for last. Come on now. I got you. Gotta have you. You get the final draft, and then you're gonna be like, just throw that away and forget you ever came up with that idea.
Start over.
Right.
I want a story about a clown. But
yeah, I'm really trying to go more. I'm not saying I'm him by any means, but his style of movie, as far as Hitchcock. So I'm trying to do the whole less is more. So I will say this short film, there are deaths in it, but you do not see any of them. They are deeply implied. You know they happen, but it's not. It's more of the thriller aspect of the grittiness of your imagination being like, oh, I wonder what actually happened over here because I see people here and then I see people dead over here, but I don't understand. You don't see the bridge because I feel like, in my opinion, I enjoy movies that definitely make you think because you're going to always come up with worse things than anyone could ever put on film, which is why I personally loved The Last Candyman because he'd showed him getting stabbed, but then it'd pan out, but you'd hear her screaming, you see the blood hitting the floor, things like that. And you just made up all these crazy things. Oh, he must have sliced her guts.
Yeah.
I thought it was very well done.
Go back to the original, which I'm sure you have many, many times, and think about that too. How many of those were behind the back or this, that, and the other thing? And like they could be gruesome, but like it's really limited on how you kill people when you have just a hook.
Right.
Yeah. So like you get creative, and I think those two movies specifically, not the sequels. Sequels, they went a little haywire, but those two movies specifically, the first and the most recent, were just wonderfully done. I think that they tell poignant stories. They're smart, and yeah, it's very Hitchcockian because they have to imply a lot.
Right.
I love that you're doing that, and if you don't mind, I would love to give you some advice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally gonna take a lot of advice from you.
Well, for one, watch a lot of his movies, but not the big ones.
Right.
So if you watch
Lifeboat.
Lifeboat is one of my favorites. Lifeboat is a fantastic. It was actually on my top 5 movies that take place in boats a few weeks ago that I did the video. Lifeboat is fantastic. If you want a limited set, one of his best, in my opinion, is Rope. Is one of my favorites.
There you
go. That was an experiment for him, because he didn't want cuts. But of course, you run out of film, but he wouldn't cut. He would run right through. And what he would do is he got real creative. Like as somebody's walking through a door, the camera would go into their back and darken and then pull out. And then it's like, okay, cool. Like, so like you were able to, like when your film reel's over, you just fill up and then, so it's not a cut, but it is kind of a cut. So a lot of those things you see, like the no cuts in Daredevil in the hallway scene, or you see it on The Bear, they do episodes where they don't do cuts. And it's just, not that they kind of move around a lot. They might do short cuts, but it's very high pace, like the camera's following at all times. Thank Hitchcock for that. He was one of the originals to really put to test that theory, and it worked. And we've seen it over and over again. So while you're doing that, I would watch movies like that, because I think your biggest thing that when you're writing, you're going to have to realize is utilize shadows, especially through lighting, utilize sound. Always. It's important. I hate it when I talk to a filmmaker and they're like, sound's not that important. It's like,
sound's everything.
I think my head almost explodes when people say stuff like that, or we'll find some Foley for it. Create it. If you have the mics, create it, like whatever. But I could go on and on about that. But one big thing is to make sure that you are within your story creating that tension. It always has to be tense, because when it's tense and almost an unnerving tense, like people could feel or be in no danger. And that's why I say watch Rope or 39, the original 39 Steps, or the original Man Who Knew Too Much, and stuff like that. Because when you do that and you create that tension, everybody's always elevated at like a 9 or a 10 in tension everywhere they go. It could be everyday things, going to the store and like you're looking over your shoulder. And he did that really well.
Right.
But I'd also watch a movie called Straight Jacket.
Straight Jacket. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember her name in it. Let me look it up. I actually watched this movie with Jennifer Tilly.
There you go.
It was at the Florida Film Festival in 2008, I want to say. Joan Crawford was in it. She was the star. She played a woman who was assaulted and like went to, and like she killed somebody, and then in retaliation, then was like put in an insane asylum for years, and she killed him with an axe or something like that.
Okay.
And so she was like considered crazy, and she got out. She went to go live with her sister, and then people start dying.
Gotcha.
But there's a really good use of shadows in that one. There's a really good use of like the sound, the tension building, especially Joan Crawford's eyes and stuff like that. They really play really well. So when you're making your movie, especially when you're writing it, I'm not even saying making it, but when you're writing it, make sure you're always building on that tension. Everybody should always, because if you're not going to show the murders, show that there's always danger around.
Right.
And we don't see that enough in horror movies, I think, anymore. Like when we watch Scream or the Scream movies, stuff like that, they build tension in like, when is he going to come out?
Right.
But then you feel safe when they're safe and things like that. And it's like, no, Hitchcock, you got to remember, you watch a Hitchcock movie, you have downtimes like Rear Window when they're having the talks and stuff like that. But when the when the danger starts, everyone's tense all the time.
Yeah, I hold my breath still when he loses track of the killer, looking through his binoculars, and he's like, I don't know where he went. Man, obviously they're like, is someone gonna knock on my door? Like,
I can't wait to check it out. I think you do a great job. And if you ever want to like just talk about it or stuff like that, please, let's do it. And,
absolutely.
I'm happy to help if I can. Like, I'm not saying I'm a foremost authority or anything, but I'd be happy to sit down and talk about it or point you in the right direction to people who can.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely will. And I'm trying to do it because I talked to a couple people like Dave and a couple other individuals just about, where do you pull from? Like, do you just pull from inspiration from other movies or things that happened to you? And he's like, well, it's kind of a mixture of both for them. My writing style, I do a lot better. I can write much better if it's from experience. So I will, without I'm not going to give you the whole story because I want you guys to see the movie. But I will say it's based off an experience that happened to me while I was working night security. So it was very easy to kind of write some of the horrificness and the tension during those particular times because those were real things that happened to me, to where it's like, well, I know how it made me feel. So I just got to be able to convey that to other people. And I will say that it hits home to a point where it's something that everybody has experienced to some level. So I think it's going to be easy for someone to be like, oh, I've been in this situation, or, if I'm out of town, this happens to me all the time, to where I'd love it to just be a little unnerving to someone, just to where the next time they're at a hotel or whatnot, they're like, just for a second, just a split second, they think of, the short film they saw and they're like, oh, fuck, man, I hate you.
Yeah. And so for me, like when I'm watching, stuff like that, and I love that you're saying, and it goes back to the old saying, like, write what you know, and that's very cool that you're doing that. I will extend it and say, like, as you're doing that and using those experiences and what you have, like, so years ago, I was commissioned to write a screenplay called The Cabin. That name sucks. I hate that name, but they wanted to call it The Cabin. It's like 2008 or 9. And my boss was like, I want a horror feature called The Cabin. And I want you to touch down on these points. I want scenes like this, characters like this. And like, when you're given stuff like that, it is not impossible, right? To do that. But it does hinder you a lot when you do that stuff, because it's like now parameters are put on. And that's great for when you're writing TV. That's great for when you're doing this. But like when you're trying to like craft your own story, adapting is one thing, but like crafting your own story and giving certain points that you have to hit on. But it was a good exercise in like having other people's views kind of put in, and not writing what I know, but having to get into the mentality of what I'm trying to say. What's my theme? What am I trying to say here? And go there, because that's on me. So I took a lot of walks at night, and I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And I would walk down South Orange. I would walk down South Orange Grove Ave. Right. I believe that was the name. Like if I'm messing it up, but I'm almost 99% sure, but I know exactly where it is. It's right off of. Now I'm blanking. This is my fault. But it was the street that Freddie's house is on. or Nancy's
Okay.
house rather, and also the house from Halloween.
Oh,
So I
okay.
would just park the car and walk that street at night just to get just to like absorb the horror feel.
Right.
You know, like when nobody's there, you know, I'm really onlookers and I'm just walking around the street or whatever. And sometimes I go down and walk the main drag and stuff, but it like filled me. So like, you know, okay, guys, calm down. It like filled me with like that creative juices. This isn't getting better, but
Nope.
you know what I mean. I'm gonna abort now, so and just let go of this story I'm gonna tell. But I wish you all the best. I can't wait to see what you got. Talk to you about it some more. I can't wait to have you back on the show. I love you, Paul. You know that.
I love you too, Mick.
So thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to move on to the final segments, but I wanted to say thank you. You can hang out for the Let Me Micksplain if you like, but I don't want to feel like I'm talking at you.
I don't mind. I'll listen to the Micksplain.
All right. Well, let's get into it, shall we? So Let Me Micksplain, the Stat 70s controversy and the Hollywood problem. That is right, everybody. I don't often like to jump into stuff like this where I get into controversy. I will cover it because it's happening and we need to. And this right now is the biggest one. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, of course, had a very dear friend who kept them off drugs and kept them happy and kept them, I don't know what else. Who knows? This whole thing is just getting worse and worse by the day. But Danny Masterson, convicted rapist. I'm so glad he's convicted and going to jail for 30 years. Horrible, horrible human being. So I am so glad to hear that. But, you know, wasn't glad to hear that? Ashton and Mila. They wrote some letters in defense of their friends. And those letters are so tone deaf. And you can go read them. I'm not going to get into it all here. I'm just going to talk more about the philosophy, or not philosophy, but my feelings on it and my views. There is a Hollywood problem, Paul, and everybody listening. There's a big Hollywood problem that people have not known for years. And it is trapped around power struggle, forcefulness. We see it every day in every aspect of what's coming into movies and stuff like that. It's hard to say it's ever going to go away because nobody's ever going to stop seeing movies. And the only way to cut off this sort of stream is to cut off their money. But there's way too many people involved in moving parts. So really what we should be doing is going after the people. And I'm glad we got a conviction, especially for somebody who was in the Church of Scientology, somebody who did this. Paul's like immediately like, I don't want to be in on this. I don't want to get killed. But you join the ride, buddy. You're sticking. So
bring it. Let's do it.
Come to the East Coast. Let's find out. Studios. So the problem with Hollywood is, and I saw it myself, and it was very alarming in many ways, like very alarming. I never saw anything up close, but like I would see how people would act, primarily men, but women too, how they would act, how when controversy was happening like this, especially of a sexual nature, it was almost like bro club. Yo, you got to protect our friend. Bro, we got to protect our friend. No, we can't let that happen. We got to fix this. We got to do whatever we can. That shit don't fly, man. That should never fly with me. I have my friends and I am loyal. I'm a loyal friend. But if somebody is my friend and I find out in that time, like one thing I can't stand is like, don't lie to me though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you lie to me and I can't deal with it. But like, if you are causing trouble or you're causing hurt towards somebody, or it comes out that you really caused some really bad juju everywhere. And like, in this sense, it's not bad juju. He was a rapist and he devastated lives. You are not my friend. There is no loyalty here, because for you to do that means you've been hiding a lot from me. I didn't know this. Now, I don't know if Ashton and Mila knew it. I don't know what they knew. I don't think they knew at the time, but I'm not saying they didn't see things, because it's just stupidity to play that stuff. My problem is Hollywood is shoving this stuff under their ground, especially with the church. I don't know why the Church of Scientology is so powerful in goddamn Hollywood, but whatever. It's just there. But like we've heard stories like this before, like Tom Cruise with his ex-wives and how that's going. And that's just and I like Tom Cruise. I think he gets caught up in shit. But I also think like he's a robot for them. And he's, I know the running, but like, because he's a goddamn robot. So like when I watch this stuff and like watching that apology video from Ashton and Mila, and then seeing that there were like 50 other letters from celebrities trying to ask for leniency and really laying it in thick. Giovanni Ribisi, the parents, although I will say this about the parents in defense of them from that 70s show. Their letters read their letters and only their letters, because I read them all the ones that are available right now. Their letters are the only ones that sound like, well, I've never seen a problem when we were working together, and it was always professional. It was always this, and he always seemed like a really great kid, and we always had good interactions. I get that. I still wouldn't have written a letter. I think it's shitty that you wrote a letter, so I'm wondering, like, if they wanted to or how that came out. I hope there's a statement or something, but the fact that, like, even Ashton and Mila are like, well, the family asked us and this, that, and the other thing. It's like, I don't care. Because you know who wouldn't ask you to protect me if I was doing these horrific crimes? My family.
Right.
You know, they might be sad, and I get that. And I actually sat down and thought about this, having kids of my own and stuff like that. What if they did something and they were facing life in jail or an extended period of time, but they did something horrific? Would I write a letter? Now, hypocritically, yes, I would write a letter. I have to for my kid, but I know what happened, and I'm not gonna write a letter that's like, he's a good kid though. It's just this, that, and the other thing, like this Brock Turner shit when his father did that and all that. That's bullshit. You were wrong. You deserve to be punished. Your Honor, if you think what's best, I'm gonna go with it. But he is my son, and I would love to hold him and have him in my life. But I do know he needs to be punished. That's all, that's all I can say, or even, is there any leniency when I go to visit him? Can we embrace each other? Can he be in my life? Can I spend extended periods of time to make sure that during his time of imprisonment, I can still be a father figure and try and help him through this and like change him, and now my kids are 7 and 11. So that's not true. But like, as a father, you got to think about this stuff. Because like I also have to think about it from the perspective of, I don't want my kids doing that for friends.
Right.
I don't want my kids covering up or doing these things because they think that's what friendship is.
Right.
Recently we had a guy who, and I'm just call it out here, I don't care, but he's very angry and he's calling us bad friends and all these things. But the fact of the matter is, we weren't bad friends. You were a bad friend. And there's no accountability towards it. And that's the people I'm trying not to turn my kids into. You need to take accountability. You need to know punishments involved when you mess up. There's consequences, stuff like that. And anyone who calls yourself their friend, calls themselves a father or a mother or any type of person who cares about somebody, when they do something, even if it's a horrific crime, you need to let the accountability take place. There is no covering. I don't know. You are a horrible parent to ask for leniency and say, to not think of the victims.
Right.
And then that would be the first thing I say to my kids. Like when my kid's gotten in trouble for throwing something at another kid before. You didn't think about the victim. You didn't think about how it hurt. You're worried about the consequences. You're upset about this, that, or the other thing. And I have to give these talks because there's too many shitheads who just want to coast.
Right.
And we see it in Hollywood, and that's the Hollywood problem. You have all these celebrities who are being told all the time, like, you're the best, you're the greatest, you're this, that, and the other thing, you're untouchable, blah, blah, blah. And if you're making people money, even more so. And then you get this. And then you get shithead apologies by Ashton and even more upset that he has a fucking foundation to help stop trafficking.
Right.
Why is it that these trafficking companies, these organizations seem to have so many pieces of shit running them?
Right.
Is it so they can get closer to women or children?
Right.
We need to knock this shit out. That's the Hollywood problem. That's this controversy. We need to stop talking about Mila and Ashton and Giovanni. You can miss my friend. I don't give a fuck about your friend. Your friend can rot in prison for 30 years because he clearly is not taking accountability. He's clearly not sorry for it. And these victims have suffered.
Right.
And I will tell you what, if I'm asked to write a letter for anybody I care about, I better see some goddamn accountability. I better see some goddamn remorse.
Right.
You ain't getting shit. You ain't my friend when you act like that. And
Right.
I'm sorry I get so passionate about this, but like I said, I've seen a lot of it. Yeah, and Matt puts up a good point. It's funny that Topher Grace didn't write anything, and he was the one they isolated. Why do you think? Now, it's funny. I was telling Mary when we were talking about it, my wife, and Lady Manhattan, as I call her. And you see that everyone wrote a letter except for Topher Grace, and he was isolated. He wasn't a part of that club. He never felt like he belongs. Of course he didn't. Of course he didn't, because predators like that immediately target and say, that guy's an outsider. He's going to be a problem. Right. Why do you think he didn't? Not because of the Church of Scientology. Why do you think the Church of Scientology doesn't want anybody doing drugs? Any kind of drug? And I'm asking, and please don't take this as like I'm asking to like put you in a gotcha moment. But like I'll tell you straight up, like if you want. But like for me, it's because when you have people that control situations and do things that are horrible, they can't risk having people around them that do drugs. Why? Because drugs can throw you off. You can have addicts. You can have people who mess up. You can have and then they talk because they want this, that, and the other thing. Or maybe they're strung out and now they're saying something. You know, it is, and it's that. And like, it's a cult mentality, which is exactly what Church Scientology is, as I probably get shut down and killed in a few minutes. But it's a cult mentality, and this is a perfect example of what's occurring, and it's occurring on every single level. And what's happening with all the people that leave Scientology and speak out on all these atrocities? They're getting lambasted. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Everyday Americans, everyday people all over the world, don't fall for it. Listen to it, because all that press that's like, well, Lisa Remney's crazy and she does this or this, that, and the other thing, that's coming from Hollywood, that's coming from the media controlled by it, and that's coming from the Church of Scientology because they have power. I'm not saying something just to point fingers. It's true.
Right.
It's the truth. And we need to fix this problem because too many people, especially women and children, are suffering. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It is what it is. Like that is what it is until it gets fixed. But like, it's disgusting. And honestly, my kids love performing. They love being a part of things new. I would never let them go to Hollywood until they're adults.
That's fair.
And if they decide to go, fine. But if they're like me, and I hope I hope they have a good heart. I shouldn't say I hope they're like me. I don't know if I'm live up to that, but I'm just saying, like, if they're think like me, they'll get out. You know. So with that being said, let Mick explain. Thanks for watching. Go check out this clip. Go check out the full episode where I sat and talked to Paul in depth about many things, and it was really fun. But we're going to move on to the next one. I am going to say goodbye this time, and I appreciate you, Paul. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you again for having me on, Mick.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate it. And we're getting you on again, and I'll talk to you real soon. All right, buddy?
Sounds good.
All right. Take care, bud. So we're going to get to the final segment tonight, guys. Well, technically, if you listen to the podcast, you're going to have two more segments, but this is Mick's Movie Picks. That's right, everybody. Last week, 1952 won, and my movie recommendation for that year was Kansas City Confidential, a little-known film noir that I love. It stands out, and starring John Payne, a very young Lee Van Cleef. It's a great time. Go check it out. I talk about it more in depth on the last show, and it's just fantastic. But today, I don't want to give it away just yet. But this week, we had 1938 win. That was our winning year. So 1938 is our winning year. And I thank Tim for it, because Tim was one of the big voters on this. And it really scratched my head on what I should go with. Because 1938 had some great Bringing Up Baby, countless movies. Like that 1938 and 39 were fantastic years. And I would even argue that up until 1941, where we entered the war, we had really, from 35 to about 41, we had really wonderfully done movies, well-told stories. They could be dark at times. They could all walks of life, but we had just so many great stories. And the one I chose today is actually my favorite version of this, and I love this character. I love the book, but it's Robin Hood, The Adventures of Robin Hood. Oh no, that's Kansas City Confidential. So The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn, Olivia de Holland, Howland, and so many more. It's just truly fantastic. It's sort of the pinnacle of on-screen Robin Hood. We really base it off of this performance here. And if you haven't seen it, the adventurous nature, Errol Flynn does a fantastic job in it, with the stunt work and the sword fighting and everything in between. If you haven't seen this movie, I urge you to go check it out. But if you have seen it, but it's been a while, maybe go check it out again. That's my mixed movie pick for this week. In 1938, The Adventures of Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. But next week's picks, that's right, they come in 1956, 1968, 2001, and 2011. We will put this up on our Discord, as you guys can see above, our Discord and our Facebook group, which are linked down below. Go check them out. And pick the winner and pick a year. And if that's the winner, I will pick a movie from it. I want to thank you guys for being a part of this. And if you're watching this live or you're watching this video later, this is where we end things. That's right. It's over. It's que sera, sera. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for checking out BarkBox. Thank you for checking out my interview with Paul. Thank you for checking out snobsmerch.com. All this stuff in between. And just being a part of it, being part of the Snobs Nation. I truly appreciate you. So I'm going to say my salutation, but if you're listening to the podcast, my interview, 5 questions with Mario Melillo, is coming up next. So make sure to check that out. It was a great time. He has a great conversation with it. And if you want to check it out in video format, it will be up on the YouTube as well. So thanks everybody for joining in. Be kind, stay groovy, and take care. Bye. I did the wrong one, so I did.
Oh, you better believe that's a paddling.
I love God.